it's the program itself, because it has changed me and my entire personality has changed in how I address things. That's what drove the change. It's a change from inward. You do things differently, you think differently.
What is going on, Reboot team? Chris here with another testimonial from somebody who is coming to us from the implementation program. I'm with somebody who has come a long way in his reboot journey, and we were just talking before we started recording. His own mental health and his own lifestyle has just become so much more healthy compared to what it was before joining, and we're going to dive into all of that. But before, let's introduce the man himself. I am here with Ben. What is going on, sir?
Hey, it's going great. Going great.
Hey, man, appreciate you making the time. So let's start from the very beginning of the story. How did you first come in contact with the group?
Yeah, I found it via YouTube, and actually, I think it was years before. And, I had still struggled with porn and pornography, and I had thought about it. And a couple of years down the line, I was in a better spot financially and whatnot, and actually decided to put in that request to join the group, and the rest is history.
So you found, JK through the YouTube channel. I'm curious about what was it about what you were learning, or maybe what was it about JK's delivery or whatever that made you finally say, you know what, this group right here, I think it's worth my time. Let's do this for real. What was the moment like where you finally kind of took that leap of faith?
I think, JK has a history of helping many men through this struggle, and he, I think, has the deepest amount of knowledge into how do you actually overcome this, because he's been himself, there himself. All of us have been there and gone through it. And, I've been impressed with both JK and the team as well. Guys have always, reached out and made sure that we're on the right track.
Cool. Yeah, man. I mean, we are, as we say all the time, brothers in the struggle. We're a community. We're there to support each other. And like you said, everybody who, is affiliated with like Elevated Recovery and Porn Reboot, we've all been through this type of stuff ourselves.
Yep.
It's like we're all kind of qualified to speak about it in a way, not just because we know stuff, but because we've literally been there. You know what I mean? Yep. So I appreciate you speaking to that. But let's talk about you. So you first joined the group, right? I'm curious as to, what types of behaviors you had struggled with in the past.
I would say porn being one of them, and really bad mental health in not being able to emotionally connect with my own self, not really realizing certain things and triggers that I now realize and are able to avoid.
No, I mean, it's beautiful stuff.
Yes.
I mean,
Okay.
I completely know what it's like to be in a really, really anxious, consistently depressed mind state, just a state of being, and really not knowing where to turn. And I know when I joined this group, I learned simple tools that kind of guided me along the way of, like you said, getting more aware of myself, just my triggers going on emotionally and mentally. And I'm really, really happy that you've gained the same thing. So during your time in the group so far, like I want to like dive into like where you were to like where you're at now, which is literally, like you were sharing, like almost night and day, right? So I kind of want to explore that journey a little bit for, brothers that might be out there listening and everything. What do you think was the most helpful tool for you?
Well, I would say for me, being able to identify my feelings, so the feelings exercise was really key in not only understanding in the moment how I was feeling, but also looking ahead, being able to see things like, oh, I'm feeling a little down, a little depressed, maybe a little lonely in this area. I need to watch out today. I know that I'm going to have less discipline. So I need to be extremely vigilant to ensure that I don't slip up.
Yeah. So again, that sense of awareness, it's so crucial. So good on you for that. I'm curious as to, what your experience has been like. For example, have you joined any of the coaching calls?
I have a couple. Unfortunately for me, my schedule didn't always work out. But yes, I've joined a couple.
So, but let's focus more on you. So, I really love what I hear from you because the last time I checked in with you, you were like, "Yeah, I hadn't like slept in a long time. My mental health is like so much more clean." You know, if you could kind of like trace a line between like where you were, kind of like habits wise and mental health wise, to where you're at now, I'm curious as to what do you think have been some of the biggest steps or the most impactful tools that have kind of facilitated that journey toward a healthier lifestyle and mental health?
Um, I would say, there's been several things. There's been, I had a job change, which came that brought a lot of stress into my life. Another, probably the biggest thing is social isolation, making sure that I'm getting a social connection. Also, again, journaling and understanding my own self and just being able to jot things down that I can put on paper and set it down and kind of leave and allow my brain to shut off. And I would say that happened as soon as I, got a new job and was able to get out of the bad environment that I was in. Some of the people there, I don't think always pushed me to be better. So people I'm around now are people that are looking to improve, and that's huge.
That's really, really encouraging, man. To kind of like, it's the plight of the porn addict, right? It's one thing to kind of like think about or fantasize about like what could be if I take this step or what could be if I change things up. It's one thing to just think about it, it's another thing to actually do it. So with these changes that you've seen in yourself and your lifestyle and your habits, I mean, how do you feel? Like with this newfound sense of like mental health and control over your behaviors, like what's the feeling, man?
I mean, it feels great, but to be honest, it's one of those things of you feel normal. You feel like a regular human being,
Yeah.
which maybe to somebody that's not wasn't addicted to porn, that that's an obvious statement. But when you're stuck in shame and you're stuck in the guilt and you think of your own family and you think of maybe your nieces and nephews. In my case, I don't have any kids or a girlfriend, so I can't speak on that end of it. Um, but to know that I can truly be a role model for them, that they can look up to me, and I'm a man of integrity at the end of the day.
I love that. What does a role model look like to you?
A role model is somebody who always strives to be better, who always strives to improve, and doesn't shy away from the hard things in life, especially in the case of a man as well, being a protector and a provider. And part of that being a protector is not allowing some of those closet things that you can shove away and act like everything's perfect and fine when it's really not.
So relatable. So real. So I guess with all that kind of being said, how has being in the program, the things you've learned, the things you've experienced, things that you implement, how do you think those things have helped you prepare or become, that role model that you strive to be?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's the program itself because, it has changed me and how I mean, in a lot of ways, my entire personality has changed in how I address things. That's what drove the change. It's a change from inward. You do things differently. You think differently. That's the thing that is key. And I mean, that's the very reboot. Your brain is rebooted, and that's the thing in my own strength. You can't on broken hardware fix yourself.
Mm.
It just work.
That's so good. And dude, I can relate so much to just that overall change in or the change in personality. Like I can so much relate to that. And I know brothers that have been through the group themselves, like we can speak to that because we're not here to just learn a bunch of facts about addiction and whatnot. Like, we're here to change. Like, we're here to make strides and make stuff happen. So
Yep.
it's so real. And thank you so much for speaking of that. So a question that I like to ask, I'd love to see where you go with this. So let's imagine you know somebody who is struggling with an out of control compulsive behavior, right? They are just in a dark place, like you and I know about very well, just struggling in silence, not knowing what to do, where to turn. Knowing what you know now in the stage of your reboot, having learned what you learned and experienced what you have, what would you share with that person?
I think the biggest thing that I would share with them is not shame is so pervasive, especially at that stage where you're so drowned by it. And I think to really understand that somebody is there for you and somebody can get you help is the biggest thing. And to tell them that goes a long way in breaking somebody's shame. But I think also one thing that I would also say is journal. Write down your thoughts because it allows you to track things and it allows you to see your progress. Sometimes you will slip and fall, but you can look back to a time where you were much worse off and you can look at it and say, all right, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to keep fighting. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, no, it's funny because it makes me think of really old journals that I had from years ago, like since I was like in high school and stuff. Like, do you have like old journals from a long time ago?
I do, yeah.
Completely going off book, but like in that act of documenting and putting pen to paper, sharing your thoughts and feelings, and how would you kind of compare the journal entries from like pre-rebooted Ben to kind of where you're at now?
I mean, now it's so much happier, in a way. You know, of course, all of us still have our life things and whatnot, but again, at the end of the day, in that place, I did not feel human.
Wow. What does that
And
mean?
now I feel like a regular human. Emotions are just emotions. Everyone feels
Yeah.
emotions.
Yep.
And back in high school, you feel alone. You feel like you're the only one going through that struggle. You paint yourself as this monster of a person. And to fully come out of that and realize that you're just a regular person is really enlightening at the end of the day. But yeah, to look back at those, man, some of that stuff is like, well, that was trivial.
Man, like high school Chris, like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that you literally say the word monster because I remember like trying to like write down or try to figure out like this unhealthy behavior on my own. And I kept on using the word monster or demon or dark cloud or stuff like that, when in reality they're just feelings, thoughts, and urges that literally every single one of us feel, right? It's just a matter of, again, like you said, us becoming just more aware of them, more compassionate to ourselves that, yes, there's things we need to work on, but we're working with a lot of the same pieces, a lot of us, like
Yep.
it's so true. And just really seeing yourself again as a human being. We're all going through this. And this part of our lives, when it comes to like feeling low, feeling anxious, feeling depressed, in one way or another, it's it's a spectrum that we can all find ourselves on. So to not only show compassion to yourself now, but to show compassion to a younger version of you that maybe didn't know what you know now, and to have an open line of dialogue between those two Bens or those two Chris's or those two whoever might be listening out there. I could go on, but it's such a
Oh
beautiful
yeah. Oh yeah.
thing. So with all of that being said, for somebody who is like yet to experience that for themselves, for somebody that's yet to kind of come to grips with their shame and their urges and their unhealthy behaviors, and for someone who yearns for that coming out on the other side and making strides in the way that you have, would you recommend this program?
Oh, 100%. I would say, for the people that are even considering it. Take the leap. You won't be able to do it on your own. And if you can, which most don't, it's going to be years and years of struggle and failure. And at the end, you're going to come out ahead going into this program.
I love that, man. And I am so, so sincerely proud of you for the progress that you've made already, and the progress that I know that you're bound to make. You're a great guy, and you work hard, you're passionate, and I know for a fact that, there's guys out there that have been in your shoes and yearn for the shoes that you're currently wearing. So, with all that said, man, thank you for making your time. Any final words before we part?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one thing, I didn't mention, but, for me, with Christian values being at my core, um, in thinking about marriage going ahead, I, before porn, or when I was in porn, I did not believe that I could ever be loved, that I could ever truly, I couldn't come to terms with myself, let alone somebody else coming to terms with me. And I think to know and look forward to the time where I do meet that person and I can look them in the eyes and I can tell them everything. I don't have to hold anything back. I don't have to worry about them finding out who I really am. So that's the one thing I would like to add.
I don't think there's much more to add after that, man. Thank you so much. You're worthy of love, and vulnerability is a skill that you can grow. And this program is a place where you can stretch that muscle. It's happened for me, it's happened for Ben, and we both know that it'll happen for you. So on that note, thank you so much for sharing your experience, your heart, your just experience. Thank you so much again, Ben.